Yeah.
Hey, everybody. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us on the Friday show. Brian's off. In his place, Pete Hegseth. He's essentially working out the material you'll be doing throughout the weekend.
It's just a rehearsal. You guys get the weekend off. I do not. But we can all still have a drink anyway. Together.
It is Friday. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
We still celebrate.
All right, let's bring in Heather Nauert, the acting Undersecretary of State for Public Diplomacy and Public Affairs. And she used to work with us here on Fox and Friends. Hey, Heather, it's so good to see you.
Good morning, Ainsley. Great to see all of you.
Well, thank you. All right, so let's set the stage for Singapore. What can we expect?
Well, this administration has made more progress in the past 8 weeks than the government has in the past 8 years in getting North Korea to denuclearize. So this is a tremendous step in the right direction under President Trump's leadership, and now Secretary Pompeo's as well. So as we look ahead to the next to the summit meeting that's set to take place in Singapore, you can expect a lot of planning. There are a lot of logistics that are involved in planning that. Secretary Pompeo set sort of the expectations that we have for North Korea to denuclearize. He made our expectations very well known in his talks with Kim Jong-un. And so between now and then, just a lot of conversations about how those meetings will go down.
Heather, there's a story out today that says that apparently it sounds like the North Koreans are removing some of the extra buildings at some of their testing sites over there. And it's unclear to the person who wrote this story why they're doing it. I bet you know more about that than whoever wrote the news story.
Well, it's something I actually can't confirm at this time. We watch those situations very carefully. The overall United States government does. We think that they are, certainly Kim Jong-un has pledged to do the right thing. Others have said that they would denuclearize. That's what we are pushing for. We are going for that. Our expectations are clear, and the administration policy is well known by the North Koreans.
Well, the former CIA director, John Brennan, thinks your chance, or the president's chance, or Secretary Pompeo's chance of actually getting North Korea to denuclearize is very, very low. Listen to what he had to say.
Okay.
I hope that a summit meeting is going to result in a denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula.
What are the odds?
I think they're probably, less than 0.1%.
Less than 0.1%. So he's predicting 99.9% failure in this outcome.
Yeah, look, here's what I can say. We are committed to doing this. The North Koreans have made some good faith calls. It was certainly a good faith effort in releasing our American prisoners earlier this week. We were tremendously proud to bring those folks home. Look, we are realistic and clear-eyed about this, but it doesn't mean that we aren't going to make every effort and every attempt to fulfill President Trump's policy of denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. We're a long way from that, but we're certainly going to make all of our efforts.
And the sanctions are not going to come off until they do that, right?
Absolutely not. This administration came in very early on and designed the maximum pressure campaign on North Korea. We were joined by many other countries around the world to put sanctions on North Korea and also other entities to try to get them, to force them to denuclearize. We have seen those sanctions working. We believe that that is what has brought them to the table. Our allies back us on that and are in agreement with us on that. So we're pushing in the right direction, but those sanctions will not come off until denuclearization happens.
Well, a couple of days ago, you were with Mike Pompeo, and I know we were kind of, we saw the still images, but what was it like on the ground with Kim Jong-un?
Yeah. So first, let me start off by telling you a little bit about what it was like when our American prisoners came on the plane. And try to picture this, guys. In North Korea, we're at the Pyongyang airport, and these three men are walking onto a plane that says United States of America across that plane. How incredible, just that taste of freedom. They walked on board. We each got an opportunity to take a look at them, to shake their hands and say, welcome home. Even though we were still on North Korean soil, they were then under the protection of the United States of America. They said to us there, they looked us right in the eyes and said, God bless America, and we are so proud to be Americans. Wow. We all teared up. We all choked up. It was an incredible moment. So, I mean, that really, for me as an American and for someone who represents the State Department in this administration, administration was the highlight of the week. The entire reason we did go there, though, was to set the table for President Trump's meeting with Kim Jong-un later next month. And so the Secretary Pompeo, made a tremendous amount of progress in planning for that meeting. I was not in the meeting with him along with Kim Jong-un. There was just one other U.S. official, but we believe we made some progress on that front.
Heather, are there any demands we've made up front that the North Koreans have not agreed to yet or haven't said is possible?
You know, we're still in the planning stages here, but we've made it very clear. Complete, irreversible, verifiable denuclearization. We've made that clear all along that that is our goal, and many other countries around the world completely back us up in that one.
Heather, as far as those hostages are concerned, what were they like? Do they have family members here? Do they have kids? And did you find out what was in that note that one of them handed to Mike Pompeo?
Yeah, so I read that. I understand that a psalm was handed to Vice President Pence. I've not seen it myself, so I'm not familiar with what exactly is in that. But these are men of faith, and that is very important to them. They do have families here in the United States. They're United States citizens. I know my consular affairs colleagues had the opportunity to give those family members a call and let them know that they're American prisoners, their family members, now the freed Americans, as I like to call them, were on their way home. Can you imagine getting that phone call from the United States government saying, hey, we have your dad, we have your husband, we have your brother. So we reached out to them. I know that some of those families were on their way to Washington, D.C. to be reunited. They're now private citizens, so I'm not going to be able to talk about what's ahead for them, but I know they're certainly glad to be reunited with their families and back home on safe ground.
Did they mention to you about their treatment?
I did not ask them personally about that. As you have to imagine, it's an extremely sensitive situation when they're coming on board the plane.
Sure.
Sunlight was something that some of them had not even had exposure to. So our goal was to just give them their space.
Right.
Give them their space, and they spent time with our State Department and White House doctors, also psychiatrists. So they were the main points of contact with these men on the flights home so that they could take care of them. We didn't want to probe, but I'm sure some of those conversations will be had in the coming days. Their treatment, what they experienced, and what their goals are for the future.
What a week. I mean, between the hostages and then a couple days earlier, it was pulling the plug on the Iran deal. Of course, now the sanctions kick back. They snap back. But we really need the help of our European allies, because if they just pretend, yeah, it's business as usual, then this thing is not going to work.
Well, and that's the entire reason that President Trump made the decision to pull out of the Iranian nuclear deal. The Iranian nuclear deal only dealt with one small part, some would call it significant, but one part of Iran's bad behavior, and that is its interest in a nuclear program, forgetting about all the bad activities that Iran is involved with all around the world. We see the news, we watch the news carefully out of Syria, where Iran, its Revolutionary Guard Corps, and also Hezbollah are attacking our ally Israel. They are doing lots of bad things around the world. We see Iran backing the Houthi rebels in Yemen, shooting missiles and rockets into Saudi Arabia, our close strategic partner. They're doing lots of bad things around the world that the United States intends to hold them to account for. Now our next step is to talk with our European allies and others to say, let's look at Iran through the totality of his bad acts and not just through one narrow slice, the nuclear deal.
Well, Heather, Nancy Pelosi, not surprisingly, does not agree. Listen to what she says about the deal.
Without the agreement, Iran was on a path to have a nuclear weapon in 1 or 2 years. So to those who keep saying this is important for us to stop them from getting a weapon way down the road, you have just given them license to go forward in a year or two. We take an oath to protect and defend. That is our first responsibility. I do not think the president is honoring that oath by what he did.
So she says the bomb is more likely now.
Well, look, we have seen Iran lie and lie again. They have not been good actors in all of this. You just saw the documents that Israel was able to obtain out of Iran. The United States has taken a look at those documents. We believe those to be authentic. We've seen that regime lie in the past, and so we certainly would have questions about its commitment to the nuclear deal.
All right, then on Monday, another historic thing is happening, checking off all these boxes. The U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem is set to open. What are your comments on that?
Yeah, so this is something that President Trump talked about on the campaign trail, the importance of opening an embassy in Jerusalem. We are pleased that our Deputy Secretary of State, John Sullivan, will be leading the delegation. Secretary Mnuchin will be there, as well as Jared and Ivanka Trump are joining there as well. So we're very proud and pleased of President Trump's accomplishment in doing this. It's something he promised and now something that he is fulfilling.
Well, it's something a lot of presidents have promised, but this is the first time it's actually happened. Heather Nauert, who once upon a time was our news anchor, and she'd get up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and now she's a big shot at the State Department, and she never goes to sleep.
That's right.
You're doing a great job, Heather.
Thank you so much. And I just have to tell you, it is such an honor to be a part of this State Department and this administration, and it makes it all worthwhile when I can be just a small part of helping to bring these Americans home. I can't tell you guys, I mean, this has made this career change for me entirely worth it. What a meaningful experience.
Very cool. And happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. Thank you. Look forward to seeing my family.
All right. Take care.
All right.
Thanks, Heather.
Good
Good luck.
Breaking news from The View. Whoopi Goldberg wants our president waterboarded.
Remember how the gentleman in the White House talked about torture on the campaign trail? Well, what I'd like to say is I would like